The little holding ISIS back as it surges, making swathes of Africa a new heartland, is fading. Darkness in its place. Help from the American people, so vital in Mozambique, about 3% of its economy, and in January it was suddenly gone. The hole it left seems to suck everyone in, an open space for ISIS to surge in the north. Beheadings, child abductions, emptying Christian neighbourhoods. Nearly 100,000 on the move, finding little food or help where they flee to. In a place where billions in LNG gas wealth, enough to transform life here, and an American investment, sits untapped until security returns. It looks like a place where nothing should go wrong, but Mozambique's north is ravaged by a resurgent ISIS, finding a new life across Africa. We land in the flashpoint of Mocimboa de Praia, 7 weeks after ISIS started their worst offensive since they occupied the town in 2021. With the first international journalists here in a year, the government's grip is so shaky they've let Rwandan forces in to be the real muscle on streets where ISIS seem to rule the night. So USAID's contribution to Mozambique amounted to about 3% of its GDP. And so obviously they're reeling from that suddenly stopping. And a place like this, well, it was controlled briefly by ISIS about 4 years ago. They were kicked out. And that USAID money helped the economy here, development, schools, really enabled the government to try and promote its hold on the place. And so now that money's suddenly vanished, well, they're reeling here, and ISIS are back. The little video we have of ISIS's recent onslaught is terrifying. Outgunning Mozambican forces, slaughtering captives. But in October, they tried something new, less savage and confident. They walked unopposed, armed, in stolen uniforms, straight into this mosque in Mocimboa's coastal fishing community to deliver a manifesto. The crowd didn't flee, but instead filmed. When ISIS arrived, asked for the keys, and walked in wearing their boots, the imam had presumed they were soldiers. What did you think on that night when these guys came in?
Wawili wakiingia ifunguliwa milango hiyo kiingia na mkungo wakimwambia sekula timikoro hii paisowele sambu paji ukiroza kipindi kile jaye nijua hiyo masababu.
It is extraordinary after all these years of ISIS spread across the Middle East to stand in a place where they had freedom of movement just a couple of days ago. Locals say they alerted the military, but ISIS had made their point about control. 93,000 people around this area fled in just 6 weeks after ISIS's attacks began on September the 7th. Not a breath or noise of life here in a Christian neighbourhood, Felipe Nyusi, emptied, with the first journalist to see this. Rafael takes us directly to the home of his brother-in-law, now abandoned. They were not rich and also took USAID. But ISIS still came for their money in the dark, knowing exactly which door to knock on.
Vanimunga kutwala nandi kunkanyalanga ndikutwa kunchinda muti kumikira panchonyo hivi hapa lipondo lya mwana lile likabuli lya miadi lenguliki miadi ya mwanangu mwanangu libyanga mwanangu 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 libyanga nichayota kuida kuona nangu Dona kutangola papa. Papa.
8 men killed by ISIS, 7 of them beheaded, some in front of their families. And you just, for looking around, I mean, there's nobody here. It's startling. This used to be a vibrant area, Christian area. You can sense just how much fear ISIS are able to project with these night raids when they just turn up in the dark, hit particular houses and behead the men. USAID gave about $586 million in 2024 to Mozambique. A total of about $2.4 billion was intended for ongoing projects, from water sanitation to anti-extremism, according to documents seen by CNN. When USAID stopped, roughly $800 million of that probably did too. The money USAID spent here urgently tried to curb the spread of ISIS. They gave $50,000 here to help motorcycle taxi drivers improve their working conditions with paperwork, vests, helmets. Young and poor, they risk recruitment to ISIS unless they find a livelihood. Their anger about that help suddenly disappearing and then us asking questions clear. Now please, my friend, tell me, how do you feel now the USAID money has stopped? Emotion's incredibly high here. I mean, it's all about people's livelihoods, really, and a lot of anger. The man who ran the project describes how it is the only way to stop ISIS.
A única forma de poder parar com a insurgência é continuar com esse financiamento, tendo uma oportunidade em que eles fazem dinheiro. E eu penso que eles não vão para o mato, porque quem vai para o mato, ninguém quer morrer. Então, são tantos jovens que... Mas quando nós começamos a desenvolver esse projeto, eu pessoalmente, recrutei tantos que inseriram na sociedade, eu penso que o presidente Trump tem que ter coração. Nem todo moçambicano, nem todo africano é corrupto. Aquele dinheiro beneficiável.
Fishermen, the main workforce here, but also a source of ISIS recruits. We visit a USAID project aimed too at giving them a better livelihood, now shut. It's absolutely stunning here, but just on the other side of that bay over there is the mosque where ISIS gave their speech a matter of days ago. And here's the project. Funded discreetly by $70,000 from USAID through local government, it helped register and repair boats, nets and motors, and was meant to continue.
Então é a vez que nós sempre, cada vez mais, controlamos as embarcações assim como pescadores. Porque a maioria dos pescadores são jovens, da idade compreendida. E eles lá também caçam aqueles jovens mesmo para raptar.
Interrupting ISIS is personal to Kadumo. Over 6 years ago, they abducted both his sons and daughter. She escaped, but he doesn't know if his boys are alive.
Liguei para eles e eles também nunca falaram para mim há 6, 7 anos. Nunca, não conheço nem a voz dos meus filhos. Até quando fazem-me lembrar os meus filhos, esta pessoa dói-me muito. Por isso, nem vale a pena. Estou me sentindo muito.
I mean, it's just crazy how frequently we come across stories of abduction, killing. The town so many flee to, Moeda, is a back-breaking 9 hours drive away. The shorter roads we avoid. ISIS killed police there days earlier. Well, this really is an aid town, but we're told that, like, since USAID shut down, 10 international aid workers have left here, leaving not that many. Many offices have been closed. Real sense of the air kind of being sucked out of it. 10,000 new arrivals in this camp alone, met with a steep drop in food aid. The Norwegian Refugee Council, half funded by USAID, can now only provide a month's stopgap rations. They build again here, new homes from bamboo and netting, all vividly aware they cannot go back.
vai. Chu! Tukuta yemwene kwida kunivida. Wida vila ne shombo. Chakunyuka hata wako mekuvawa. Hata wetu la pahira. Pahiso. Talega ibala kuja bai, talega imamba. Konde chitu chavene kuja. Mekuta mauta, tuwe mauta. Atuwe nyamani. Atuwe kudedenga. Atuwe nyamani.
Most stories you hear in the heat, dust and smoke end in a beheading. Already there are signs of real hunger. You might choose to eat these snails fresh from the sea, but not like this, so far inland. These girls' father was killed by ISIS. He was part of a local government militia. They arrived here, desperate, 2 days ago, to find the aid they yearned for wasn't there. The UN say they need $352 million in aid for this crisis-hit region in the north, but as of October have a fifth, only $3.5 million from the US so far, although more from the State Department is said to be coming. The US gave much more in previous years.
We're assisting about 1 million people at the beginning of 2024, and then we decreased to around 345,000 people that we are targeting now.
It is limited funding, and we see now that we cannot help them, and it's very, very stressful.
We have to address the priority of the priority, which means we have to make very tough choices, and this means we focus on life-saving.
But Mozambique could be rich. Around the town of Palma, shielded by these fortifications, it's clear that while the Trump administration is stripping away aid here, it's also investing fast and hard, a $4.7 billion loan in March, in vast liquid natural gas facilities. US giant ExxonMobil and France's Total Energy plan to spend at least $20 billion here.
Well, this is what so much of that intensity is all about. Mozambique's liquid natural gas resources, so plentiful yet untapped, but it could make the country second only to Qatar in terms of the wealth they get from it.
It is a contradiction and, too, a risk. ISIS violence pours building here for years, but even though it is now worsening, Total Energy suggested last month they would push ahead with the build. Yet, with this remarkable savagery swirling around it, a future of Gulf-like prosperity seems far-fetched. Surrounded by a crisis of escalating hunger, displacement and extremism, deepened by a sudden collapse in the aid that once kept life afloat here. A State Department spokesperson said the US had continued to provide assistance this year in Mozambique, a majority of which was life-saving food and nutrition assistance. They added that worldwide aid was constantly under review to ensure it meets the needs of the receiving country and the priorities of the United States. The State Department did not respond to our questions about the resurgence of ISIS following the withdrawal of USAID. Their statement added, "The United States continues to be the most generous nation in the world. This administration is significantly enhancing the efficiency and strategic impact of foreign assistance programs around the world. We call on other nations to increase in burden sharing globally."